Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to episode 30 of the Map 5 podcast and the second of our Overwatch World Cup round tables. And whilst we kind of aimed for, let's do an EMEA episode, we have people based in EMEA, but we've got a bit of a range of coverage here. We're joined by representatives from New Zealand, Poland, and Belgium. I'm Big Hungry Phil. Joining me today, co-host Ocean. I gestured to the wrong side. He's over there somewhere. And Mince, Eric, and Weevil coming in to talk to us. So, all of you, thank you again for joining us here. Why don't you do a little bit to introduce yourselves to our audience who maybe haven't met you before? Let's start with you, Mince, and we'll head down the line.
Hi everyone. I'm Mince. I'm the general manager for Team New Zealand this year. As Phil stated, I'm based in EU. I have dual citizenship, so I'm currently studying in the UK, in Wales. I'm not going to dox myself more than that. But outside of that, in terms of the Overwatch space, I've been involved for about 3 years now. I'd say 2.5 managing, and I was really introduced more to like the professional side, I guess, through the British Esports Association, which is like a collegiate scene, but for people that aren't at university yet. And that's also how I met Weevil. And I was kind of the Philadelphia fusion of that because I had back-to-back seconds. Never won it, but I managed a team at a LAN and I coached a team at a LAN. And then after I finished with that, I was really lost, but I was still passionate for managing. So then I started in the EU Tier 3 scene, and then skip forward a little while later, World Cup gets announced. I'm on holiday in New Zealand at that point, visiting all my family, and I think, sure, why not? I'll throw my hat in the ring. Skip forward a little bit more time and got the role. So here I am.
As much as you bargained for, I guess.
Yeah, well, they offered me coach at first. I was really surprised. So, yeah, I think we had to work things out, but yeah, here I am.
Cool. Well, we'll come back to like the actual in depths of your journey here once we've done intros. Eric, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself?
All right, welcome everyone. There's always the question, why is it Eric and then I have a different first name? Because this is technically also my second name, so the rule applies. You can call me both, but I'm sticking with this since it's the original one. In terms of Overwatch, I guess since we want to do a like short introduction, I've been with the game since the beginning, so 2016, going from casual player to a better player to doing semi-pro anything. Later, I recognized that maybe actual playing is not my kind of thing, so I went into coaching. So again, starting from the bottom, helping like individual players, then teams, casual teams, tier 3 teams. Eventually, I landed in Contenders Australia, helping one team out.
Huh.
And then World Cup happened in 2019, so I participated in that. Unfortunately, we all know how that format works, so we couldn't really go to North America. But that kind of like put me off from doing anything very official, and I just moved into helping people individually again. And since it's 2023, right? Yeah. Oh my God.
You have to check your watch for what year it was then, Eric.
I mean,
it's a big watch.
If I have to be very honest, I sometimes forget how old I am, but that's just like a digression. Yeah, it's 2023, World Cup is back, and I thought that's a good occasion to do something as I would say, one last ride, since I have a very big, opportunity in life, trying to achieve one very important thing for me for next year. And yeah, I just want to help out the team and see how we can push this entire initiative forward in terms of Poland and Overwatch too.
Well, that's very cryptic. We might come back to the big opportunity you've got in your life coming up if you're happy talking about that in a little bit. And Weevil, last but not least, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is TheWeevil. Yeah, I've been a coach in esports in general for 4 years, I want to say now. I started a little bit in Rocket League a couple of years ago. Eventually moved into Overwatch around 2020. Yeah, fun time to get started. Yeah, got started around then. Been similar to Eric. I tried my hand at playing for a while. Got to Diamond. Realized I wasn't very good. a bit after that. I think probably a bit earlier than Eric realized. My road ended a lot sooner than his. But yeah, from there I just went into coaching. And yeah, been working my way up ever since.
Interesting. Well, Rocket League to Overwatch is certainly an
interesting
transition.
We forgot something in there. I thought you were like a really good bumper in Rocket League. Is that all you did? Wasn't that your plan?
That was me playing Rocket League.
Oh, was it? Oh, easily to be mistaken.
So I feel like we've got another one of these situations where it turns out that Ocean knows a lot of our guests much better than I do. A little bit. So we will be watching for keeping Ocean on track here. Everybody watching, please wish me luck.
I'm sure we can have about a 10-minute section about my, track through Rocket League. I'm sure no one will mind about that.
I think I would definitely mind. I think maybe a minute is enough. I think we can move on now.
Okay, so let's actually have a look at the main body of our conversation here today, and again we'll start a little bit like going down the list, and we have heard a bit of this from you already, Mince. You jumped the gun, no problem at all, but we can maybe go a little bit deeper here. So, nobody is born an Overwatch World Cup coach or general manager, so be interested to know what your steps were to get here. So, Mince, you're more than welcome to give us a recap here or fill in any details you may have missed on your intro.
The first thing I want to do is just change my camera a little bit. I was trying to move subtly just so it's fine. I think that should be okay.
I'm so glad the half-hour call we had before this was not the best time for that.
Yeah, my bad. So to get where I am today, I would say a lot of it was thanks to the student championships, which are run by the British Esports Association. Federation now, yes, no longer an association. We don't associate with associations. They really helped me out from 2020 to 2022. Sorry, 2020 to 2022. When I spent 2 years.
It's not confusing at all. Don't worry about it.
I spent 2 years. My first year as a player, my second year as a coach. Although my first year was kind of like player manager because I was nowhere near good enough. I was a 2.7 and an OTP who could hit sleeps like I was I don't know.
Jonak,
Alarm.
Say Jonak.
I'll say Alarm just because Alarm's awesome. But I couldn't heal my team for shit. I would just I was a DPS Anna, but I wasn't even good at that. The only redeeming thing I had was my good sleeps, and that was it. So I got benched. I became the manager. Got a passion for managing through that. And then when I finished with the British Esports Association, I tried for a third year, but it just didn't work out. That's when I LFT'd. Someone who was like a mutual reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to coach my team?" They're like 4.4, 4.5 average-ish, kind of, sort of, very, very, I don't know, high tier 4, we'll put it that way, kind of team. And that was like my reintroduction, I guess, because everything I'd done is through the collegiate scene in the UK. But I should state, the collegiate scene there's the university scene, and then there's this scene for secondary schools and colleges, so it's more a high school scene.
Yeah, high school is probably the best way you could put it.
Yeah, definitely.
Internationally.
Yeah. So, I mean, previous to all this, my first thing was Rainbow Six, and I was really introduced to Rainbow Six, to esports through Rainbow Six, and my first ever sort of thing in esports was being an analyst for these Finnish teams in the Finnish National League in Rainbow Six. But I was terrible. I was so terrible.
You're Finnish, not very good.
No, honestly, I was god awful. I wanted to coach for them, but I'm glad they only made me an analyst, because it would have been a bad decision. But yeah, anyway, so skip forward to where we are before. I get picked up to manage this team. That doesn't work out after a bit. Do some other team stuff. Then World Cup gets announced. I'm not sure if it was in the initial tweet, but they said something about selection, and then a while later I apply, and a long while later, it's 2 a.m. I check my emails, and I get an email from Sydney, Australia, from the Sydney department. I don't know. Sydney division, I should say. Sydney department. And they say, "Hey, would you be interested in coaching Team New Zealand?" Because in my application, I talked about a little bit of coaching. and I would not be qualified at all. So I just said, hey, look, I know someone that's going for general manager, but he would be more qualified as a coach. So if he's happy to if he's happy to coach, I'm happy to general manage, and we can sort of swap it around that way. I was up all night, like, coordinating these emails, and and the next thing I know, it's okay, you're the general manager, and this guy will be the coach. Since then, I've just thought, like, okay, my experience is European. I want to get more insight on the OC scene, so I sort of like chatted to some people that I knew, and I'm currently managing Astronic Esports, which is a team that should be in contenders. It's a little confusing with two teams just having left Australian contenders, and they placed 5th, 6th. So I think they should take that spot, but we don't know right now.
Sure.
But yeah, that's where I am from beginning to now.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. That's now that we've had that twice, very in depth. Thank you, Mince. I was going to say, you said you had done some coaching this side. Any teams we might have run into, or some managing rather,
or players.
Managing, in terms of managing, maybe you've heard of Alpine Esports. They're more sort of like into fighting games,
right?
But in terms of like teams I've managed, really, they're like the most like name value one, I guess. In terms of the coaching, it's mainly been in the UK collegiate scene with my first year, with like AGSB Esports, which obviously no one's heard of outside of it, but it was like the team for a Manchester grammar school, right?
Sure.
Like, you know how it is. I mean, I also coached for quite a long time, an all women's team. But yeah, outside of that, not really. Like, again, this is why I'm saying, like, I wasn't really qualified to like coach a national team.
Sure.
So that's why I was like, hey, I know this guy would be better. He played in contenders. He has better experience than me to coach. And yeah, so.
Well, good understanding of your own skill set. Eric, again, we got a little bit about your path to getting here. So you've been involved in the Overwatch World Cup previously. Do you want to maybe build on that story a little bit more?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in terms of, if we go back just a little bit to me playing the video game, how I always say, like I actually got like almost 4.4 by myself playing DPS off tank, but I was just like, I just say that I didn't have the best mentality. I'm kind of a tilter person sometimes. I try to like keep it under control. People, my friends know me from my reactions of sometimes going haywire, but not too much, of course. So I felt like maybe not playing, as in like, of course I like the video game, I like to play it, but then I prefer like the thinking part, analyzing, trying to find the best strategy, the best sort of play in any given moment. So again, like the decision to go into coaching, I guess, was kind of natural. Some people kind of guided me also towards it, and then it just kind of flown like water, as I always say. And of course, it's always best to start from the lowest part, because just diving into the highest territory wouldn't be the smartest idea, in my opinion. And also, it's important to get all the possible experience you could manage actually to obtain. So that's why I decided from the bottom. I started helping individual players, casual players, and people who were trying to go a little bit deeper into the game. Then again, casual teams, and then like semi-pro teams, tier 3 teams. A lot of people who I actually knew went into contenders. So I'm really happy that happened. I don't want to say that I was like the main person behind them, right? But I just kind of know that of these people achieved a bigger goal that they were, of course, aiming for. Then there was this Australian contenders episode, which was pretty interesting, seeing how it's like 12 hours of difference.
Yeah.
And it was pretty hard to manage this as in time, but I was doing my best. Actually, for the main season, I kind of got too late, and the team was already out of like the main contenders and they went into trials. But then, fortunately, we were able to get I think it was a flawless score in trials, and they went back into main contenders. Unfortunately, we cut ties due to certain circumstances, and then it was World Cup time, so I just kind of moved on to help the Team Poland. Again, we all know what happened. We couldn't unfortunately go anywhere forward in the tournament, but I did my best to organize everything, make sure that it looked as professional as possible. We had a much smaller scale of this event. Like the things we're currently doing right now are just incomparable in my opinion in terms of how much effort a lot of people are putting in. It was mostly me and just like maybe 2 other people extra that just kind of helped me in the background. Now we have a full sort of set of people doing everything, but this correlates with another project, that community project we are running, and maybe that's just a topic for later. Mm-hmm. And also, since the game was kind of in the sort of how to say that?
Overwatch 1 was in limbo for a while. I think it's fair to say.
I think that's the best. That's the best description. I was just working individually with certain players and people from around the world, and I just kind of moved around that area and just always being. What I was always aiming for also is always to be close to the community, close to the players, and I always moved around that area, and that's also what's making this entire thing. How to say that? It's run by the community. We are close to the community, and everything is very friendly. We are trying to make everything work together, make sure that the amount of incidents that could possibly happen are almost next to zero. But there's always got to be a day with an incident, of course, right? It's not like you're going to avoid every single one of them. But I think that's the magic behind it. And since everyone is working in a like-minded sort of attire right now, I hope we're gonna do the best. And again, for me personally, it's just a great journey to kind of like also end the entire adventure. I was like, I'm not gonna stop playing the game absolutely now, but it just in terms of like doing anything professional, semi-professional, I think it's that time to kind of start sort of like just stop that part now, and maybe by allowing others to help us, like the assistants, maybe even from other countries, people from Poland too, to give them the head start. So that's also like my idea behind it, and make sure that people just get the right recognition from everything, and we just present ourselves in the best possible way.
Yeah, it sounds like you're building a real engine for success there. Even if you have to step down in the future, you've got people lined up to come and help in whatever comes next for Team Poland.
That's right.
Yeah, Weevil, I promise you're not always going to be at the end of the line here, but if you could also give us a heads up on why did you decide to do this, and what that progress has been like, that'd be really interesting.
I don't know. Yeah.
Why did I decide to do this?
That is a great question. Yeah. No. What have I got myself into here? No. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've always just been like, even without knowing it, I guess just enamored with the idea of helping people improve and like helping people. Yeah, just helping people. I've always been enamored with that like idea of seeing the improvement, and that fulfills me a lot. So like coaching is something that I've always been driven to do, because esports is something that also has like, I guess, captured me, right? So the two went together pretty well. I guess in terms of how I got here, I started playing Rocket League like 2017, I think. And then I quickly just, moved into managing and then eventually coaching for Rocket League. I know Ocean will know me as a player, but that was while I was coaching Overwatch, actually. A couple of friends wanted to play in a tournament together, and I decided I'd hop in. And I'm not very good at Rocket League, so I ended up going for a pretty unconventional play style that Ocean's quite familiar with, I think.
In fairness, it got some results. It just didn't get results when you were playing any of my teams.
No, I got a lot of results playing against your teams. It got a lot of people on your teams calling us very mean words.
Yeah, we got rid of those people.
That's results enough for me.
Classic toxic Ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
No, to be honest, I'll give Ocean credit for once. He helped a lot with all those situations. But no. Yeah, that was while I was coaching Overwatch. But before I coached Overwatch, I tried my hand at playing Overwatch. And it's really funny because I also had a run-in with Phil when I was playing Overwatch, very, very early when I was playing Overwatch. Phil, do you happen to remember, back in the gloomy days of 2020, when Belong were doing their like open online tournaments.
Yeah, I do.
Do you happen to remember casting in like I think the first round some random team of bronzes?
It is a thing that has happened more than once for
Yeah.
all the time. So for those of you that don't know,
Wow.
but Belong in the UK started out doing like regional, like if you were close to one of their arenas, you would go and compete there. And some places, like Stratford, just happen to have a bunch of, GM contenders players near them, so they did really well. Other places, no, just bronzes. So, sorry, go on.
No, this was for like the online one. So that was like their main structure, but then obviously when it with the incidents, I guess we'll call them, the global incidents.
Yeah.
They had to move to like a fully online model. And that's, I got together a bunch of my friends from my school. We just hopped into one of the tournaments. First match we played, we got casted.
Nice. Do you remember what the team name was?
It would have been Meanie Paninis.
I want to say that rings a bell, but it was more than a week ago, so who knows?
Yeah, that is a bit more than a week ago. It was. But that was my first run-in with an Overwatch caster. And it was a quite good one, I'll say. So, could have been worse.
Glad to hear it.
Could have been Ocean, right?
Yeah, that would have been awful.
I'm everyone's least favorite.
Yeah, correct. No, eventually though, I figured out maybe this whole playing deal isn't for me. And I ended up going into coaching. I started coaching like a pretty, bad one-trick team in Plat. And then,
Is that Belgium?
Okay. No, I don't think it was. Actually, was there a Belgian player on that team? I thought there was, but maybe not.
It's probably one of your supports that you're trialing right now.
I would like to say formally on the record that Map 5 as an entity does not support slander of World Cup teams. We can't speak for Ocean as an individual.
Yeah, no, supports are great, man. Better than your DPS situation. I'll say that.
What DPS situation?
Exactly. No, So we moved on from that team pretty quickly. I started just coaching just casual yet competitive teams until I kind of landed with a team I've been with now for almost a year called Team Untitled. Which is a great name. We've just been competing in open divisions. Got like 20th in the Pro-Am qualifiers, which could have been better, but we were relatively happy with. I guess after that, or during that rather, during like December, I think it was the open applications, I guess, for committee came out, and I thought, I can think of like maybe 2 Belgian coaches off the top of my head. One of them is still active and is also around the level that I'm competing at, and the other one is a retired coach from Shoes Money Crew who stopped coaching in 2019. And I only know that from Wikipedia.
Okay.
So I just thought, well, may as well try it. And then, I just check my emails every day. One day, wake up, check the email, see, oh, right.
We're in.
Great. And then, I hit up the rest of the committee, and I think we started to get to work like really, really quickly. The social media manager that we have is really, really good. I'm very happy with Deemsies. He's been getting the ball rolling for a while now. Pretty excited for all that. And I think that's about it, I think.
Great, thank you.
You didn't mention BEA.
That's actually right. Yeah, I should mention that. I did. Like Mince, I went to a college here in the UK, specifically in London. I am from Belgium, believe it or not, via the accent, but I've picked up this horrible London accent. No offense.
My condolences.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't do very well again as a player with my college, but after that, after like our bracket run ended, I went LFT as a coach for like the last couple months of the tournament. I came into I had a couple offers, but the one that I really liked was Queen Mary Samurai.
That's a great mental image.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic. I don't think you could get further away from those two concepts. But yeah, no, the experience was really good. I really enjoyed working with those players, and unlike someone in this voice call, we ended up winning the tournament.
Okay, man. Okay.
Okay, so there's some history here.
Ocean got muted again, I think.
Yeah, Ocean, we've lost your audio, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Damn, rip Bozo.
Yeah. Rip
Indeed.
And I clicked on our Discord voice chat, and it opened the stream. You know, the stream that you're bringing into us, and then Discord. Good application.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was saying the rest of us haven't won that either. To be fair.
Oh, that is
Vince
true.
Isn't the only one because we didn't do anything else.
Vince is the only one who's come second 2 years in a row. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I'm the back-to-back finals appearance.
Back-to-back vice champion, baby.
Yeah, we'll put it that way. I should start calling myself the Peps of BE instead of the Phillies. Philly's not a thing anymore.
Hey man, don't do Peps like that.
I'll do Peps how I like.
Right, before we get into a mess about how we're going to do Peps, let's just move on to the next thing in the run of the show, and it's my question to ask, and we're going to go in reverse order this time. Okay, so we've heard a little bit about how you guys got involved, but we want to hear a little bit more about your nations based on your current assessments. And the next question is, what are the biggest strengths and opportunities that you foresee for your nation in World Cup 2023?
I mean, I think for like our strengths are that we can kind of tap into a lot of different communities, right? I think just as a country, Belgium is quite divided, which politically isn't very good. But for gaming communities, we've got our dirty little hands a little bit everywhere. We've got a lot of people from the French community are, friends with the French-speaking Belgian players. A lot of people from the Dutch community, friends with the Dutch-speaking Belgian players. And then, technically, there's a small part of Belgium that also speaks German, but, I don't think we have any players from that. So, but it's there. But, yeah, we've got a lot of people who are, who would be supporting their nation might also kind of on the side, secretly behind their nation's back, support Belgium. And so, yeah, I mean, that's something nice for our community. I think competitively speaking, we have some very, very good players. I mean, Ken and Logix, I don't really have to explain that those two, not, confirmed to be on the roster, but trialing at the moment. And, at least from what we've seen in trials, they are also very, very good.
The other players currently in tryouts would have to be, so it's Stain and Kathanas would have to be pretty exceptional to beat Logix and Ken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kathanas and Stain are both people who we got, kind of put our eye on from, open trials. Kathanas, especially, he got second in the open trials. Took a couple maps off of the winning team, which we all kind of just thought would, 3-0 stomp the entire bracket. So it was, pretty exciting to see him, especially because his hero pool is something that, kind of fills some of the gaps we might have. So, there's definitely a world in which, Katans can compete with the likes of our Kens and our Logics.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah.
So your strengths are being friends with certain people in other countries and your DPS line.
Don't forget our tank line. Our tank line's pretty good. Former Overwatch
You
League
didn't
talent.
mention your tank line there, did you?
Yeah, well, you didn't either.
Yeah, but that wasn't my job to, was it? Oh, I'm not head coach of Belgium.
Well, you're helping me out here. Thanks,
Do you want to talk about your tank line
Friends with
quickly?
other countries. Fantastic.
Well, look, I know Shira's a good player. I know Hades is apparently a really good Kiriko from the Open Trials. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your tank line?
Well, Spree's former Overwatch League talent, He's for the Boston, not the Houston Outlaws. That's the one, not the Boston Uprising. Be a bit concerned if we had off-tank players from the Boston Uprising, if I'm not going to lie. But yeah, no, the Spree playing, he's come out of retirement, I think, especially for the World Cup. As far as I'm aware, I haven't seen him around. But
I've seen him in ranked. I don't think I've seen him play though.
No, I think he's definitely still got it. He's still, performing to a pretty high level in our closed trials at the moment. So yeah, pretty excited about the roster competitively. And then, I mean, we've got a couple of interesting storylines happening in support, is how you could put that.
Okay.
There's someone in who we kind of didn't expect to performing a bit better than we expected.
Is that all of them?
No,
sorry, I'm so mad.
I should not, in fact, all of them. But no, so there's a couple people in there who we're pretty excited about. Yeah, generally, I think the roster is one that if we play our cards right, we can really try push for one of those line spots, and I think it would be very exciting to do so.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's go to Poland next. Let's go to Iraq. And I'm actually looking at since we've all brought up some closed tryouts. I've noticed that in your support closed tryouts, I'm there. What am I doing there? There's also E-Girl Slayer.
Yeah.
So tell us how Poland's getting on, what strengths they might have going into World Cup 2023.
Yeah, so basically again, you said that our players are in this room kind of specific, as in, again, the game wasn't really doing that well throughout the last 3 years, since the last World Cup, let's just say. So most of the players that you might remember are not playing anymore. And the main one being Danny, the one that was in Paris Eternal, is not playing anymore. The rest also just kind of disappeared, started doing their own thing. So there's an opportunity for a lot of new players actually to come in and present their strengths. And I would say that there are strengths in every single role currently. On tanks, we have young players who've been grinding all the time, trying their best to present themselves in the World Cup. But we noticed some of that. We noticed most of those skills in the trials, right? There's this one team consisting of, one team in different sort of names, because we had those community tournaments here recently in Poland, and they've been winning everything, just destroying everyone else. As in, there are people trying to play against them. They're trying to just kind of get some of that victory, but yeah, they are all on top all of the time. And those players, of course, won trials, and they are presenting themselves the strongest. I don't want to name drop anyone currently, because again, it's just.
Do you want to name one player that you're excited for currently that's in your closed trials that you really like the look of?
I will say, if you're worried about outing selections, by all means, step back from that. We don't want you to
true.
Yeah, I'm currently in the mode where there's this list available. The golden named players are the ones that won trials, and you can just kind of guess that these will be.
That's a good way to write the question.
Yeah,
they will be visible, but I'm not saying that the others won't be visible, because we actually ended yesterday the first phase of our tryouts for everyone, including the trials players, and yeah, we've seen some very impressive games from actually everyone, and surprisingly, what we managed to kind of get it to the point where it's really hard to cut out players actually, because most of them are presenting different strengths and weaknesses, but it's all very even. Of course, we have some star players that we are aware that they will definitely go forward, but the other players that are like 50-50, there's a lot of them, and we want to provide, I mean, everyone with some kind of backup extra info, what they're doing better, what they're doing good, what they're doing wrong, and whether or not they will go for it. If they didn't go for it, why we didn't implement them. We just want to be completely honest with everyone, and it's going to be definitely a very hard task to present that final 12 or 13. I always forget which number we settled on. But yeah, that's in terms of players. In terms of actually the strengths of our community, that's the other part of the question. That's what I said earlier. We're trying to make this a very community-run thing. The Discord we are doing this on is partly actually the Discord of that community tournament we were running with our friends. A lot of people are there. If you check the numbers, there are just an insane amount of players and an insane amount of people just casually hanging in. They came for the tournament. We wanted to use World Cup to integrate that into that Discord to just make it live. Make it that everything is experienced with everyone else. Everything is streamed, of course. We have commentary, a very loose one. Not like the one we had in the normal tournament, but again, it's just sort of the presentation that we are all working on this together. We're all trying to make this the best thing possible, because the last couple of World Cups for us were pretty hard. Let's just say like this. The ones that were still online, the ones that were still on site, we had some ups and downs. Not everything was working properly. I wasn't working on them, so I can't really say for the people organizing everything back then. The one I was working on, again, as a coach, I did all I could to organize tryouts, prepare players, do all the scrims, check everything. Like I could, that's what I could have done. The moment we got the information that by certain factors we can't obtain a sponsor, because there was actually a possibility to obtain one.
Oh, really?
I'm not gonna do. Yeah, there was a possibility, but again, some things happen. I'm not just gonna say who was put a blame on, but I can just wink. Who, but yeah, that happened, and then yeah, like we are in 2023. We're really happy that there was the trials. So a lot of people actually signed up. There was a lot of great moments also captured on our stream, which brought a lot of viewers, and again a lot of interest. We're trying to build up all the time, and now we have the tryouts also streamed, and then we're gonna have this online tournament, as in online groups, which is very very good thing, because in 2019 we were sort of playing for something, right? Something that might happen, might not happen. Currently, everyone has the online qualifiers, and there is some kind of goal to reach forward to. Like we are aware of the enemies. Enemies, maybe the opponents.
Mortal enemies.
Opponents is a better word, right? Opponents. We are aware of their strengths, right? But we're not gonna surrender by any means. There's this very inner energy being just kind of build up all the time that we're gonna do our best. We won the World Cup challenge thing, I mean, that kind of gives us some motivation. And yeah, the key word is motivation, and we're gonna be building this up all the time. 2019, unfortunately, it was really hard to get that motivation up. We all know why, but this time there is actual goal. There's some physical thing we can participate in. And if all things go well, as we are hoping, this will allow to not only for Team Poland to go forward and play on a bigger stage, but also for our sort of Overwatch scene to also start rising again, as it is rising currently. But as I mentioned, that's a topic for a later part of our discussion.
But I do think it's interesting, actually. You mentioned that in Poland, Overwatch 1, particularly towards the end, struggled specifically. And I think it struggled the world over because of, it not being updated for a year and change. Is there, like, another game that players defaulted to? Like, I think of Poland as kind of a CSGO country as much as anything else. Like, did that just seep back in to fill the gaps? Did everyone move over to Valorant, or what was the situation like?
As you mentioned, this country is basically, in terms of, if you would ask anyone what kind of competitive game they're playing, you're going to mostly hear CSGO, as in Counter-Strike, just overall. and League of Legends. First of all, CS:GO, you can play it on anything, any potato computer.
Yeah.
It's very common game. League of Legends just for free, right? And it's approachable for anyone. And not everyone plays it like hardcore grinding style, just very casual. But still, there's a lot of this is very approachable to everyone, right? Overwatch was a paid game. It was like combination of many different styles, so it wasn't that easy for everyone to pick up. And since that moment, since 2020, when the game was going just down and down and down, Valorant came out, right? A lot of people moved into that. Those that were coming from like CS:GO, they went back there. Some people went to Fortnite. Apex also existed, so Apex
actually
again,
quite a few good Polish Apex players, I think.
Yeah. I mean, but most of them actually not from Overwatch, but still a lot of good players, right? But yeah, I would say they mostly went into that, into those sororities. But it's understandable, right? Especially for the players that try to sort of go and still stick with the esports route, because they notice Valorant, they notice that Riot has a lot of money that they want to put on the table in terms of tournaments. And yeah, I mean, this is fully understandable. But when they actually started playing the game and they noticed that, oh, wait a second, it's not really what we were expecting and what was originally presented, they also just kind of moved out from that area too, and they just started doing their own things, right? I mean, Overwatch 2 came out, so those people that wanted to get back and see how the game changed, well, they got their time. Those that adapted, well, they're still playing. Those that said that it's not their thing, well, they just moved on and. Yeah, that's how it works, I guess.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Eric.
All right, Mince, you finally had to go last and enjoy the pain of listening to me and the rest of us talk.
It's a hell.
Is it?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. It's the same question everyone else got, but I'm going to add a little bit to it. So,
go ahead.
Does everyone else in New Zealand get the cat ear buff? What's going on there?
Nah, it's just.
Or are they just for you?
They just grew out of my head one day, and I just thought, I won't snip them off. I'll keep them.
That does happen in Wales, I heard. So maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, it's in the water, I hear.
I think it's very interesting that you've moved from one country, or like you have ties to two countries who are very famous for sheep. Like just as an observation, that is a little weird.
Yeah.
No comment on that. No comment.
So what do you think New Zealand's biggest strengths are going into 2023?
Well, look, this is. I'm going to cut straight to the chase and just say, like, it's a small country with a very small community in OCE generally, or OS, however you want to say it. I just say OCE because it's a very like tied together region, I guess. It's obviously dominated by Australia, but there are like Kiwis always involved in whether it's Siege or Overwatch or Valorant. But we're very intertwined in that way. I mean, we've had like our coach spec the Australian trials. We really don't care. They don't care either. We're actually good friends, so yeah it's fine. But yeah, I mean, like our weakness, if you want to put it that way, is like our strength, right? Because Liquipedia is a little deceiving because there are some people who live in Australia that have New Zealand passports that did participate in the trials, and there might be someone that gets in the team in that kind of situation. You'll have to wait. But
please tell me you've signed Pixie. That'd be amazing.
No. I can confirm PixieCast will not be playing for Team New Zealand in 2023. Well, he general managed in 2017. It's weird to think I'm stepping in his shoes in a way. But no, so having a smaller community is actually very helpful for us. By no means are we like bad. It's just the case that we have less people. We literally have less people. So when we did trials, there was a block here and there where we had to like, DM, hey Aki, would you mind bringing like support here? We really need someone. So we'd have ringers and such. And the benefit to having less players is that you kind of get to build your team sooner. We can't confirm our players. We can't go through any of the official process until I think until April, early April.
Until Blizzard says you can.
Yeah, until Blizzard says we can. But like behind the scenes, we have our roster confirmed. We plan to be doing like I think a little bit of consistent scrimming week per week, and then like really ramping it up for the qualifiers and such. But yeah, like having less players, it's just made it easier to like get everything now, because I know some people have really just started now, right?
Yeah.
Like we've pretty much been doing it since we were told we could, right? Like we've been right in there. It's been a little funky with Australian OD happening at the same or similar times. So we've had to like work around that framework, but we've given everyone that deserves a fair chance in the closed trials like like the opportunity to prove themselves, and the roster that we have we're very happy with. But obviously I can't speak too much on it. What I will say is that if you saw an announcement a little while back about 2 players, no, you didn't see that.
I think we
I'm not
saw that.
gaslighting you, you're crazy. Yeah, you didn't see that.
You know what's crazy? I was gaslit into thinking New Zealand had a bigger population than it does. That shocked me a little bit. Like it's only almost like a 0.1.
5 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's a little bit above Ireland. It's just a little bit though.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are other things that go into the process, right? And I've got this theory, and I say theory and not like fact because it's not necessarily like 100% applicable. But not having World Cup for so long has been equally as damaging, or perhaps more damaging than like the game not having dev support for so long, because when you don't have an open trial tournament to play for, all that money incentive roles sometimes, and we're lucky that we don't really have that situation. But like roles sometimes they just don't exist for certain countries. Like Weevil is dying inside over there. Like he knows exactly this experience. It's like when you don't have these things in place, when you don't have like a national like competition run this way or put in place to like run for, then people just sort of like go elsewhere. When otherwise, like let's say you're a good support player, you scrim a bit, but your support pool isn't like strictly all main support, strictly all flex support. Perhaps like with the incentive of World Cup, and you look around, you see, okay, there's not that many flex supports. Maybe I'll sort of specialize a bit more. I'll LFT as a flex support, and then when World Cup comes around, I've got a better shot that way. But not having that for so long has really like plucked talent from these countries as well as like Valorant popping off, Apex popping off, no World Cup, no dev support for a long time. Countries in many aspects are just like completely dry in roles. Some countries like I don't want to name any countries, but I know that like some countries are really like struggling to get like players from their own countries. And they're just sort of, and I'm not saying this to like be mean in any way whatsoever, but they're really just having to like look really hard to find these players that would like count as the right caliber that they need, right?
Yeah.
And it's just how it is. But my theory is that like going forward, if we continue to get these like 2K tournaments in just countries alone, like that will motivate people to like fill the gaps, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I just kind of want to pop in really quick. Just say like I agree a lot with that. I think one of the biggest strengths that like a lot of the other esports, I'm going to point to Rocket League just because that's like where my like personal experience is. Like Rocket League, the French scene there is absolutely gargantuan. Like their France is like the Overwatch Korea, right? And it's the same thing with like language barriers. They all love playing with just French people, which means that it's very hard to like break into. And a big reason of why is there's an organization called Rocket Baguette in Rocket League. Yeah, and they do like tournaments for the French community, and they shove money down their throats. Like, and it's so good for just developing French talent, you know? Yeah. And you see it actually here in like in Saudi Arabia, right? Like the Saudi E-Leagues have just popped up a couple of years ago for Overwatch. And now we saw Twisted Minds just win the Pro-Am calls in EMEA. Something that a year ago, if you said to me, LBBD7 is winning, the equivalent of a contenders tournament in EMEA, I'd have laughed in your face. Like, and now he's come out and Like,
I
kind of want to add on
can
this.
I like
Great.
counter come in just with like a small
Oh.
point?
I'll go
that,
after you
that,
then.
that
Go ahead.
like why my theory isn't like beyond a theory, why it's not like a complete fact,
Yeah.
is that like some countries in World Cup have always had role issues. Like even when the game has been good, if you want to look at like, I think this is the first example that comes to my mind. Like, sorry, not Finland. I'm not throwing shade at Finland. Iceland.
Yeah.
You think of Icelandic players, Hafikool and Finzi, both off tanks. So what
Yeah.
happened in 2019? Well, Hafikool had to become a DPS because there wasn't, there was just overlap and stuff. Finzi became the off tank, and that's just how
Yeah.
it went. It's like even when the game is like in a good state, unless it's like League of Legends caliber S tier esport where everyone is looking at the game, I think you're still going to have these issues. But I think having these national tourneys with 2,000 USD to like really like cherry on top everything else, like we've got collegiate, OD, contenders, owl, everything there, plus like these national tourneys, I think it really helps the roles. I don't think it's going to be a complete fix, but I think it's going to help a lot more. But I think it's also like a multi-year thing. So next year, a lot of countries going to have all roles filled. This year may be a little rough after such a long break.
I agree. I think, especially if I really, really don't think that they would do this because there's no reason for them to do it. But if Blizzard decides to like make the 2K like basically just the open qualifier tournament, like not an open qualifier, just a random tournament for Belgians or for whatever nationality, you do that for like just maybe once every 6 months even, or once every 3 months in an ideal world, but just something like that. Again, they probably won't, and I don't expect them to, just because that's like a big financial like burden, and then you get the same drama that you had now with like which countries qualify, right? But something along those lines would be so amazing for growing like Overwatch as an esport, because I think like domesticating esports in a way, I guess, right? Like creating a domestic scene for esports is such a good way of like growing it.
Yeah,
like,
I think well, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think that speaks really nicely to what Eric has been doing with Polar, like trying to build an engine for success that is like a group of committed, coordinated people. I also want to sneak another following question under Ocean before he gets to his point. Which
These are so boring.
This poor guy.
Well, whatever. You don't have to share a group chat with him, so all my sympathy's gone. So we spoke specifically about Iceland, and like they have this problem where they have a difficulty of roles. Do you think on a national level there is like a tendency for some countries to, again, let's talk about off tanks in Iceland. UK used to be kind of a main tank region. I don't think it is anymore.
No,
definitely not.
No. Is there like something at a national psyche level? Like, you can talk about countries liking certain things because of the culture over there. Like, do you think like, New Zealand fosters a certain kind of player in ways that it doesn't others?
I was actually gonna lean into this divine question. So can I quickly snip in? Because I mean, look at USA, for example. Look how many young main tank players there are right now. It's because who do they look at? They look at Super, right? That's who they've seen. That's who they want to be like. So with World Cup, we're gonna get countries like New Zealand, right? And let's say a random New Zealand main support player is really good. Then you're gonna get more main support players in the future because they see that pathway and they also see the idol there to have some inspiration, right? So I feel like that's why World Cup's so important.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I want to say like this super effect that you've talked about. Like, I think it's valid. I would also like to propose another name for it, the color hex effect. Because like, of course, like Kiwis would look up to color hex. Is the only Kiwi that's ever been in Owl. I don't know if anyone's ever like got far in like Owl trials, but no one has ever like made it other than him. So he is just like the king of New Zealand Overwatch, undisputedly. In terms of like the talent that might have followed that. From looking at the trials, I mean, we've had a fair amount of DPS players like submit themselves to trialing and stuff like that. But in terms of like people that we can actually take and justify and say, okay, we will put you on the team. There's really like DPS has actually been our driest department. But like I said, we're also simultaneously very lucky that we've been able to like cover all the roles. Support weirdly, like you would think like, okay, with a small country, like the US is one thing where it's like, okay, everyone looks up to Super because he's so well known, he's a streamer. And then you have a smaller country like New Zealand, you know, Color Hex, he got into Owl, he did his stuff for a while. We oddly enough don't have like a crazy amount of DPS players. We actually had like quite an issue with support players, where we had quite a few to pile through, and we really had to put into perspective. I don't know if you guys have already done this, if you've thought about it. If not, like, hey, I'm giving you some free tips. Like this year, there's going to be 2 new support heroes, so we thought, okay, 3 support backline, that is a must. We have to do that. There's no other way around it. We want like a main support, flex support, and then like preferably someone who can fiddle around with both if needed. And you know, that's the direction we went in. Oops, I've just leaked a little bit. You know.
Get him! Get him!
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. What if I told you, you know, the way we've been joking about Irish DPS players, that there could be 3 Irish DPS players? What if that happened?
That'd be pretty grim, I reckon.
To be fair, I'm not the one that had Hades on Flex support at any point, so...
I didn't either. I wasn't coaching that team. That was their own choice.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, I just want to say, in terms of Irish like hit scan talent, you know, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say the G name, Mr. Graffin. Hello. Like, I really hope he comes knocking at your door and says,
Would be appreciated.
"Hey, I'm interested," because that guy's with Redbirds these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they placed, but I think they're in the Pro-Am, right? So, you know.
I think
Yeah,
so,
they're in
yeah.
Pro. They got third.
Okay, so I realise we're sort of hitting the hour mark more or less here, and that I promised you it would be about an hour. We still have some questions left to get through.
I got time.
Oh God.
Great, good to know.
Wait, we've done like 2 questions, right?
We've done 3.
The questions themselves have been
That's
quite
nice.
wide-ranging. They've covered some of the questions. We're fine. We're doing okay. I want to talk about. We've spoken about, like, you know, what the environment is like, what your teams are starting to look like without naming names. Obviously, there are some big names in an unavoidable way in this tournament. In that, like, you look at who's won, it's typically America, Korea, and China, like the top 3 to beat.
Yeah.
What are your expectations in the face of that? You know, obviously we've got online qualifiers first, and then we've got LANs, then we've got the whole big shebang of it. You know, how far are we expecting to get here for your individual countries?
Should I start? Or are we doing it this way back? Like
You've spoken first. Congratulations on volunteering.
Okay.
I
All right,
just
awesome.
really quick want to preface this and say, like, we don't fully know like the format yet, right?
Sure.
Like, we know that there's going to be a group stage of some kind. We don't know, is that going to be like, you know, a proper just 4-man each group stage? Is it going to be like the weird double elimination group stage? Is it just going to be a Swiss stage?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Like there's discussion in APAC B about, oh my god, Australia's gonna kick everyone's asses. And you know what? I agree probably. It's very likely to happen. When you have LA Gladiators coaching and some amazing players behind you, it's hard to like say with a serious face, we're gonna beat that team. We're gonna try our hardest. But look, there are also some other countries that are of like major concern, really, that I don't think a lot of people are looking at. You had Sham on the other day.
Going to ask about that.
Yeah, I've been on other podcasts and I've talked about Team India. I think Team India are the dark horse. I think they're the absolute dark horse of this group, and they could certainly make it to the land stage.
Interesting.
I say this partly because I don't want like the New Zealand community to get really hyped that it's going to be us in Australia against the world. But it's like, guys, we have to fight for all of this. There's also Thailand in the picture, and you know, there's a lot that we have to fight. Like, really, we have the more competitive APAC group than the one with Korea in it, because Korea is just going to roll that group. We are like everyone's playing for second in that group. In our group, again, like, yeah, we are playing for second, but you know, we have a lot more sort of like competitive matchups to face, right? And
I have to say,
you know,
your group is
go
difficult.
ahead.
Like Thailand,
it is really
albeit without Yoshinori, like still a good team. Singapore won't be bad. And that's
Singapore's
a tough
got
group.
that John Galt coaching.
They've got good committee in Singapore, but that's scary. I don't want to be in that group. God, I'm not.
I mean, in terms of like expectations, like right now, it is just get to LAN. I want to take it one step at a time. I want everyone to be clear. We have not earned anything. A lot of people, and I'm not going to name names because I can't name names. But like, people have said, cocky things. I don't think anyone said like, oh, we're gonna get to LAN 100%. But people have sort of like written off certain things. And from my experience in esports, I've learned to never write off a team. So when I look at our group and I look at the people that we have to play, I don't care if like some of Team India have to play on crazy high ping. They still have good players, so don't sleep on them. Don't walk in and expect you're going to roll and then lose first map, and you're like, what happened? And then second map, and then third, and then that's it.
Yeah.
We're not going to LAN. It's like, right now we want to get to LAN. Anything beyond that is great. I think if we can get to LAN in a dominant fashion, then we might have like a secondary goal of maybe making it out of groups. But again, we won't know what the groups will be like at LAN. So that's where we're at. We just want to get to LAN right now, and then we're going to focus on the next thing. But it's really key that we don't sleep on anyone, and we have to fight for every single round, every single map, every single one.
Just looking at the groups for EMEA here as well. So Poland and Belgium are in Group B and Group A respectively. So you don't have to worry about fighting each other for a little while yet. I would still put these as quite competitive groups, just like historically looking at the regions. Like Poland, you've got Saudi Arabia and you've got Sweden in the same group. Like, how are you feeling about that?
And potentially Finland, right?
And potentially Finland, yeah.
And Finland. Like Finland, I mean, Germany as well. Yeah.
I mean, I'm completely aware of the fact that people we're going to be going against, they're really high-tier gaming. Let's go like this. But I would say, again, like, I'm the type of person that believes, till the end, I want to see and I want to do everything that's best, right, till the end. So we're not, like, giving up. We're not like, oh, my God, there's people, like, we know who's going to most likely play there. And we're like, oh, yeah, whatever. We're just do whatever. No, we'll be trying till the end, as you said, every single map, every single point, everything. Like, that's all going to matter. And we will be trying to just achieve the best thing we can right now. And I mean, with the sort of joint operation we have here in Poland, in the community and the community, we'll be like putting all hands on board, and we'll be trying to make this thing work. Because I believe that the players that we have here have the potential to shine, but they just need the right guidance. There's just, again, the years of nothingness, sort of. Being very, very existent here didn't give any motivation, right? But then we have the current situation here that is changing rapidly, as I mentioned earlier, and there is some kind of light in the tunnel, and I want to make sure that it sort of is as bright as possible, and eventually we can pull these people out of the tunnel into the open, and they just kind of rock everyone. That's what we believe in. That's what we'll be aiming for, and yeah, we have definitely. I'm trying to just sort of like use the propaganda mechanisms and other people and tell everyone that you were gonna do right. You like, not everyone, they have their sort of problems. Like we say, like, oh, Saudi Arabia is gonna play on like higher ping or something. Like, again, like, we all know that it's not gonna be a big issue, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's some kind of motivation aspect that we can add up there. But because, again, everything is run together by our people, working like mine. I'm gonna just repeat it like a mantra, right? But this is the main sort of idea behind this year's World Cup, is that we want to make sure that it just all works together, right? And everyone thinks the same way. There's gonna be like, no, like, oh, what's the point? What's the point of trying? Like, you're gonna still lose. No, I mean, like, we know who we are up against, but that doesn't like just, okay, whatever, like, we should stop. That kind of mentality just sort of doesn't work even in real life. Like, you have certain things you want to achieve, and then the percentage is still going to be very low, right? But like, why you should not try at all? Like, it's not going to hurt you or anything. You're still putting a lot of time, right? That is right, but that's how it is. Time is a resource, and we have to, like, in the right way, operate around it. I'm doing this on a private life level. I can just add up like a small digression, which I said earlier about me, my personal things. I'm a big fan of, let's call it big fan of Japan, but not as in the what people commonly think about. No,
you're not a weeb.
No, I wouldn't say myself, because I'm more into culture, history, politics, social problems of that country. I'm doing this in a more academic way. I'm studying political science here in my city in Poland, and currently doing masters. There was like the undergraduate. Now this masters here. I want to do the same there, but focusing on Japanese side of the political science, and also like international relations in that area. I'm just like a big fan of Asia. I'll just say like this. The mentality that works there is something that I try to carry on, which is like it's a grind, but of course their grind is being counted as in sort of unhealthy, right? But I'm trying to modify it in a way that I still grind, but I make it so I don't just don't sleep, like, for example, like
moderate and considered grinding. Yeah,
exactly. I would say the best thing. And I've just going back to the time as a resource, not only was the 2020 2023 time for Overwatch of nothing happening. It's been a time for nothing happening in the entire world, right? I was supposed to go for like 2 exchanges into Japan. I got all the scholarships you can get. Everything was working nice, and then boom, I can't do anything, right? Year after year is the same thing. So should I stop right now? Should I say absolutely not go forward with that because there's some kind of temporary wall being put in front of me? Like, no, I mean, again, I put a lot of time and resources, and I want to make sure that this works. So I think that the same sort of idea now kind of follows us in the World Cup territory, where people are still, they put a lot of time in the past couple of years into the game, and this is the moment. Like, this is the culmination of all of their efforts, and we want to make sure that even though we're going to have the strongest possible walls, there's still some way to put a crack into it and maybe even break through it, and then eventually possibly Poland can go into LAN and then try our best on site, right? Again, that's the main mentality. Like, nothing should ever stop you from trying, because you're still gonna put time. That's our resource. And if we truly believe that something can work, like, why should we just stop in the middle of it, right? Or just
totally.
keep trying. Yeah, just keep trying. Keep grinding.
My fellow political science student.
I guess, Weevil, that just leaves you. What's your realistic expectations?
Well, I mean, taking like a big step back, just like historically, and then just like the projected rosters. Out of the people in our groups, you've got Portugal, Denmark, Spain, Netherlands, Italy, UK, and France.
Stop there.
Yeah, what's up,
Portugal are going to beat Ireland in World Cup?
I think it could definitely happen. I've seen Portugal. They've been grinding for months.
So have we, but yeah.
Yeah, well, Portugal have been grinding for long. I don't know.
Sure.
No. But no, whichever. I mean, Denmark probably will, right? I think Denmark's safe to say, but then whichever one, Ireland or Portugal, comes through.
I'm just noting this down for when we play you guys and you lose 3-0 because you have no support players.
For sure. No, I believe that. Yeah.
Me personally, I think Ken diffs that fraud Naga, but that's me.
That's true.
Ooh, spicy.
Kidding, guys, kidding. Please don't hurt me.
Through the power of editing, I'm afraid you've said it and there's no rebuttal.
You know what? You should just put that sentence on TikTok.
Yeah, that's a great one.
What have I done?
But no, I mean, I think while Group A is probably, I don't know, it's either Group A or Group B. One of the EMEA groups is definitely like the most competitive group in the world.
I think EMEA A, to be honest.
I agree.
Brutal.
That's
France, Great Britain, Netherlands, Spain.
France even?
Yeah, that's it, France, yeah.
Oh, did you? Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. I think they're all good teams.
They are. But that's the thing. I think every team is really good, but they all bleed. In some place, they all can bleed, right? Like Netherlands, their tanks are insane. Their DPS are pretty good, but then they bleed at support. Spain, they have insane tanks, some really good DPS, again, bleed at support. UK, very good supports, very good DPS, bleed at tank. France, kind of, you can go through and you can pick out Belgium's not, a stranger to that. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see this, because I think all of these nations could qualify out of the groups, genuinely. I think it's going to be
You should have said accept Italy. You should have said accept Italy.
Yeah, probably accept Italy. That is probably
There we go.
There we go.
Probably accept Italy. Probably accept Ireland. Could all qualify out of this group.
It's the weakness of having an I at the start of your country name. That's what does it.
It is, yeah.
Unlucky.
But no, I think Denmark's probably the easiest to shoe in. I think, but then
I think Denmark will beat everyone in this group, to be honest.
And then it's just like, who else goes through? Right? There's 2 other slots. I mean, yeah. I think almost anybody could qualify out of that group, and I think I'm really excited, just as a fan of Overwatch, to watch that group. But then as the coach for Belgium, obviously I'm aiming to get out of it. I think a lot of what it'll come down to is how hard we want to work for it. You know, I saw an interview. I think it was the interview. I think it was the Spilo interview with Casores for 2019 Team Netherlands, and they were, mostly competing in contenders, and then on top of contenders, were playing at least 1 or 2 blocks after their contenders double blocks every single day. And so they are just giga grinding. Their meta kind of, it fell in their favor. It was a meta where A10 could play Reaper and the rest of the team could play a team meta. It wasn't too mechanical, but that, something like that could happen for Belgium. I think if we're willing to put in the time to work, I think we could definitely outwork a lot of the teams. So yeah.
I think this is an observation I wanted to make earlier and just didn't get a chance to. I think you have one of the most poorly utilized players playing for or potentially playing for Belgium that has ever existed in the Overwatch League.
I agree.
In Logics. Nobody knew how to make full use of a guy that is that mechanically cracked. And the fact that he's been dropped from so many teams is an absolute travesty.
Genuinely shocks me. I could talk for hours about the situation that he was put through, allegedly, at the Toronto Defiant, where apparently KDG literally segregated the roster to the English-speaking and the Korean-speaking. And for a large chunk of that, Logix was the only English-speaking player on that roster. So Logix wastes away for a year, not scrimming ever, not talking to his teammates on the Toronto Defiant for nothing.
Yeah.
Comes back to contenders, pounds, and again gets dropped. Kind of, I don't know what he's been doing recently. He kind of disappeared for a while. And now he's come back. He pounded again in the Open Trials tournament. Absolutely dominated. Took over every lobby he was in. In the closed trials, he's been pounding. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very passionate about the misuse of Logix.
Yes.
I think Ken is another player who's just been very underused. I mean, he was on Avoided or where he was basically just having to play the everything role, which he's very, very good at playing everything. But man, if he just spent some of those, because he's been in contenders now for 2-ish years, if he'd spent that time really honing in on flex DPS or main DPS, it could have been one of the best. He had a stint on Shackle, and again, they didn't know what to do with him. They had him play Doomfist and also Cassidy on that team, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but what I was trying to say is I think in terms of really working for it, right? We're seeing a lot of teams in the actual Path to Pro circuit that you can't say, okay, this is Team Spain or this is Team Ireland, for example, wink wink. But there are these teams that are popping up where the nationalities are there, and it's these teams, they could have gone to different places. The players could have gone to different places, but they've chosen okay, World Cup's back. This year, this Path to Pro circuit, we're going to work together. So Ataraxia is the big example, right? It's minimum, it's got the Spanish players to fill out the roles, but on top of that, they've also got some other players to work around, like Biao or something, right? And then you saw the 721 Irish project, for example, which is was a thing, and then that kind of became Nightshades, and now it's somewhere, I don't know, but there are a lot of people that are doing this sort of thing where they're creating teams this year for the purpose of the long run. And it goes beyond the 2 examples that I'm just mentioning now, which is Ataraxia and that Nightshades project, but I just can't think of the others right now.
Team Portugal's been
I tell you
they
what
call
did weird me
themselves
out.
Team Portugal. They've just been grinding for months now.
Yeah, that's true. I think wasn't it called like Beaumont cohort or something? BMC was like
Icelandic team?
all. It was like all Icelandic, which
team.
is weird because then they can't play the wild card either. But
Yeah.
they're all Icelandic. So let's say next year, it's an actual wild card, then they could come in and they would literally be able to play as a
Beaumont
team.
cohort have been around for years. I think since
Yeah,
2021.
they've been around
2020?
2020.
A long time.
Yeah, they played in.
This
what was
exposes
it,
my
like,
lack of knowledge.
was that?
Yeah,
was that, was
crazy.
it, they were like, was it EMC? The like really big, like inter-regional EMEA tournament?
Yeah,
I think it was EMC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a team for that, and they were like, yeah, they've been grinding for ages. Yeah, I think there's something like that. Mince, you've told me something like that for Finland has been happening, right? I'm not sure what.
Oh yeah, shit. Okay, so this is kind of like kind of like insider news. But I'll leak it without leaking names. But like, there was a project that I was working on that had an ex-contenders Finnish coach, and I'm not like bringing up his name because he is like a kind of private person, most social person from Finland. I know the meme. But
PHP typing in the Wikipedia search bar right now for Finnish coaches.
How did you read me like a book? Jeez.
Your caster projector has the mouse open,
no.
and I saw you like move your mouse to where the Wikipedia search bar would be.
Let's see.
Oh my god, what a nerd!
Shows how much of a Wikipedia gremlin I am, but
But yeah, I mean, this guy was working on a project that I was like managing for at the time, and I know that like outside of that, he was working with like the prospective Finnish team. I don't want to like comment too much on it because like I actually like included him in the like Wikipedia notes for like a tournament that we played in, and he said, hey, can you remove me from that? I'm actually trying to like keep a low profile. I was like, you know what, sure, I respect it. But he's been doing his own thing for a long time with this prospective Finnish roster, and whether or not that becomes the team, I don't know, but they've been doing things kind of on the down low. So it's definitely like an accepted fact that there are like these almost secret teams. I don't want to say secret because it kind of implies like negativity, but like teams have been structured with nationalities in mind for World Cup, and I'm not sure if it exactly is correct, but I think Weevil, when you mentioned was it Sheer Cold? Wasn't it around the time of like World Cup that Sheer Cold had like 4 Dutch players at that time or something, so they were almost playing with the core, or am I misremembering the timeline?
This was back when they had Crandop as their main tank, right?
That was 2021, I think. So World Cup wasn't around, but what you might be thinking of is post World Cup. Young and Beautiful just took the entire, because they had Casores as their coach, they took the entire like Dutch World Cup roster, put them, if they were good enough, on the starting roster, if not as a sub on Young and Beautiful. But that was in like late 2019, early 2020, I think.
Yeah, I was probably thinking of that. But yeah, it's been a thing for a while, but it's definitely becoming much more of a prevalent thing, I'd say, from like what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from the streets, because the streets do be talking. And
Mince is a street rat who'll scurry around the streets.
I'm a massive street rat.
Listen to the voices in the walls.
Okay.
Mince,
we're coming to you for leaks. I hope you're ready to have your
DMs
DMs open.
Mince has already leaked 2 things at least accidentally
He's an open faucet, is what he is.
Oh.
Yeah. Easier to read than PHP going to Wikipedia.
If you wanna, if you want your if you want something kept secret, you don't tell Mince Overwatch. I'll tell you
that. Don't tell Mince Overwatch, but you can tell Mince PMA on Twitter.
Oh yeah, exactly. That guy's
right.
fine.
I think it's time that we move on to the next question, and this is an exciting one, right?
Yeah.
I want you all have to answer this question with 2 names, and we'll go with RX first. 2 teams that you're most looking forward to facing. Go.
From my personal sort of perspective, I'm definitely into Team Sweden because my friend is the general manager there. And I mean, I would love to. I think I said that to him in 2019 that it would be great to see each other IRL on site, and I want to fight against. I mean, as a part of the team, right? And he's also part of the team. I want to fight Team Sweden, and if everything goes correctly, and let's just say they go first place and we go second, or maybe we go first place. But yeah, just if there's a chance to go forward and we like want to meet together, finally, like on site, yeah, finally, great meeting. That's number one.
Sweden? Okay,
Yeah, Sweden, and then number two would be. There is some, however that's gonna sound, historical measures that people say like we should fight Germany, right? That's what people say, right? I mean, like, yeah. To be honest, I'm not really into like any specific sort of 1v1s in terms of countries as a whole. It's just an opportunity to fight everyone and see what kind of strengths and weaknesses everyone has, because this event is a great sort of perspective for all the players to present themselves, right? There was absolute silence for like 3 years. No one could really present their scene, their own players, and I think World Cup was always an opportunity for everyone to just show look like this person is really good at a video game. That player could achieve a lot if someone actually takes care of him. And I think this is sort of, again, as I mentioned earlier, some kind of option to create a platform that maybe will allow those really star players, even if they don't win a lot, even if they don't obtain with their team first place, second place, they'll still be like, oh, look at this. Someone will think maybe we should try, reach out to him, and maybe that player can play somewhere in the higher leagues. Well, who knows? Like that's the opportunity, and I believe that we should be always looking in World Cup for that.
Okay, so Sweden and everyone is what I took from that.
Yes, yes, that would be the correct answer.
I was going to say that was no fun, but at least now we can pretend that we've started beef between Poland and Sweden. Get that one down.
I mean, they actually asked the question on Twitter, like the Team Sweden Twitter asked what kind of composition we'll be playing, will we like to play. There is there is sort of this meme that we call Polish Dive. But I can really say what it consists of. They should just be scared of it.
Okay. I'm already scared of Polish Dive. That sounds very intimidating.
Yep, that's everything I can say.
Okay, Mince, you're next. 2 countries you want to face, beat, the ever-living naughty word of tell us, go.
So I mean, like, obviously we're best mates, but it would be so nice to beat Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, last World Cup, we were eliminated by Australia. Oh, fuck's sake. But, last World Cup we were knocked out by Australia. It would be nice to kick some dirt back in their eye just for that. But, yeah, I mean, like, either way, like, we're good friends with, like, the Aussies, and when it's been the case that New Zealand hasn't had a team,
dirt in their eye. You can't say that and they go, oh yeah, no, we're good friends though.
Oh, of course, the friendliest way to kick dirt in someone's eyes.
But like when there hasn't been a year when New Zealand's had a team, Kiwis will just flock to Australia. Like, it's that simple. Like we'll just follow how they do. So yeah, it would be great to kick dirt in their eye in a friendly way. But our second pick would probably be, I'd really like to face Team India, but I really don't. Like, they scare me because they've got this talent, like both domestic talent, which like people are only just learning about now thanks to the open trials, like the way that they're streaming it. Well, they're closed trials, but they're openly streaming it. Is what I mean to say. So we're hearing a lot about these like Indian players that like otherwise don't really see much about. But then of course there's like people living in NA and EU that are like presumably going to be on that team. It would be great to like like a cash, like Pummy. For sure. Pummy, Moving Fish 7, like these guys live rent free in my nightmares. So I can list them off, but I won't. Captain Prash. I'm not going to list them off, I promise you. But yeah, like there's my point, right? Is like I'd like to see us beat Team India because I also think, and I'm no expert on Team India's like history or the player base or anything really, so I really hope this doesn't offend anyone. But I think that the roster that Team India will have this year will likely be the most competitive roster that they've ever fielded in a World Cup. So they scare me. I want to beat them, not just face them. And yeah. That's my two. Aussies and Indians.
You guys are all boring. Weevil, spice things up a bit. 2 countries you want to face and beat the ever living shit out of. Tell me.
Belgium's been like looked at as like mini France, mini Netherlands, way too long. Way too long. All right, none of that anymore. Not after we're through with both of them. Yeah, no, I want to absolutely slaughter them. I think we can.
There we go.
I think we.
There we go. That's it.
Finally.
Yeah. I'll give you the juice. No, I'd love to beat France and Netherlands. I'd actually, if Ireland do come through, I would like to play against Pure Irish's team. I've
Wait,
known...
you got beef with Pure? Me too. Tell us more. I'm joking. Me and Pure are besties. Keep going.
No. Pure and I have known each other for about a year now through Team Untitled. And I would like to beat Pure. That guy deserves it. I think needs to be knocked down a peg or two. I reckon.
Okay, I'm just gonna message saying you've just been threatened.
Yeah, good, correct. Make sure you specify by me as well. I want him to know that he's got to take it seriously.
Well,
Man, Ocean's such a snitch, man. He's ratting me out to the Aussies. He's ratting
Well,
Weevil out.
I'm just saying that Pure probably doesn't know who you are, mate. So it doesn't really matter.
I think I live rent free in his head, probably.
All right, okay, sure.
So I can't help but notice we are rapidly butting up against times when some of our guests have to go and do different things, and so I think we ought to try and start drawing a line under this. I feel like the most fair way to do this is, first of all, thank you all for coming and talking to us today. It's been super interesting to hear about your look ahead and how things are going for your teams. I guess just a couple of minutes of floor time if there's anything you'd like to say or talk about before we wrap up the episode.
Maybe. Wait, you were first, I guess.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I just wanted to bring up that community part that we were trying, and maybe we could just use it as like just a small point in terms of what kind of we could do as a community to keep the game alive and just kind of improve the presentation of it around our sort of national esports scene, right? Because everyone has their own games that are popular or maybe not that popular. As a fan of Overwatch, I always tried and always aimed to present Overwatch as this fun game, cool to play, but we all, as I said, we all knew how it was like in the past. Now, as I said, we have that community tournament we are organizing with my friends. I'm not the head of it. I'm just, like, as I said, an assistant in sort of that. There's my friend Sven, who's the general manager of the team. Poland is sort of the key figure behind that. It's called Aces Showdown. We're trying to do that for everyone. We didn't want to do any ranked tiers because that's what killed a lot of previous tournaments, and that's, I think, a key point for a lot of players, because they was like, oh, it's gonna be grandmaster players beating out the low rank players. Right, that is true. But then if we actually do tiers and we only focus on that, well, you're gonna see like only in the grandmaster tier, let's say it'll be like 2 teams, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And then everything else is going to be in the lower brackets, and then you have to try to like figure out how this all works. It's really hard, and you have to like face a really hard decision how to make this possible for everyone, and that is the answer, right? But there's always ways to improve that, and it should always be for everyone. That is number one, and that's what we were aiming for. We tried to add up people who want to support us via commentary, via creating graphics, just overall. Create sort of a presentation, a scenario where everyone can join in and hop on board. And that's what really actually happened. Like, it started just out of nowhere. One friend who I can name, it's called Szeregowiec, which is just sergeant. You could translate it, but yeah, we call him Szere. He just saw like, oh, we should just make some kind of tournament in the Polish scene, right? I don't know where that was his idea. He just brought up people into that project. There was, what it should be named, how it should look like, and it just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And it only worked because the community, who is sort of, I wouldn't say it's divided right now. It's working in a united way. They all agreed to participate in that. The bigger sort of influencers try to also present it as something new, so their followers can also hop on board, and it just all started working together. And from nothing, we built a pretty big platform that we'll try to improve and make it even bigger, right? And I think the most important thing, and that goes back into what I said earlier, it's just people should try. right? Because like you see that the game is not really doing that well, wasn't doing well in the past couple of years. So like someone said, like then what's the point of trying, right? Like who will be interested in that? And bam, look at this. People actually were interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had pretty good numbers on stream out of nowhere. Like we were really happy with our results. Of course, things can be better. We have a lot of things that we want to improve on, but it's still the fact that we did it, and it's a thing, right? And it's now going to be going bigger and bigger. And I believe that in all the countries that, for example, sort of face a similar issue, and they think that, oh, are we actually a country where Overwatch can thrive? Like, I think you should just try, right? You should try to make a similar thing, maybe. And if it works, then boom, you have a platform that you can grow up on. If it doesn't work, then, well, I guess it's just going to keep living in their own way. But you should always try. And I just want to say that I'm really happy that I could have been a part of that. And it's glad to see that something can work in a really unfriendly environment for a certain game. It's that part of, like, for example, like people say that they have fun from coaching, right? They want to see people improve. And I kind of share the same idea, right? I just want to see that the sort of like what comes from your like within, from your heart, from your like your actual feelings towards something. I want to see that grow up, and it's the best feeling. And if I can support that in any way, I'm definitely going to do that. And both my coaching was something like that from myself to others, and that project we created, being Aces Showdown, is something from our hearts towards the community, towards the player that we want to present them, something that was a thing very far in the past, but then kind of disappeared. And now it's fortunately back again, and we can sort of keep going from that point on.
And I will say, if you're watching, interested about learning about Aces Showdown, we've got links to relevant team Discords, including Aces Showdown, in the show notes. So go and click on that and have a look. But Mince, you were also looking to contribute.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to give like general advice to, I guess, fans, but maybe this is applicable to people who get on teams. And I'm not just saying this to New Zealand, I'm saying it to everyone. I mean, literally everyone, apart from China, because they get invited to LAN. But like, don't expect your country to automatically be out or to be in, right? Like, China's the only team that gets the automatic LAN invitation because of the situation with the licensing. So there in the multiverse there is a world where Korea doesn't go to LAN. It's only one world, but that world exists, right? Like, so you might think, okay, New Zealand, it's just going to be us in Australia, or you might think North America, you might think, okay, it's just going to be America, Canada, Mexico. That's not going to be the case necessarily. I mean, I would predict a lot of upsets to happen this year, especially with like no World Cup for 4 years. These things are very plausible. So while we all appreciate your support, know that there's already a lot of pressure on us. So if things ever do go wrong in the country that you're supporting, just keep positive. Like, just thank the players, thank the committees for giving like a year of their life to really like build the best teams possible to field this and to do it like with on a voluntary basis, right? Like, we're all going to try our best. So let's try and keep this a friendly tournament, and just keep expectations moderate, but like keep hopes high, I guess is what I'd say.
Yeah.
Be a cheerleader, not a critic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'd just like to add, get involved, right? Just whatever you do, be involved. Get in there, get stuck in, if you're Polish, play an Aces Showdown. Like, interact on the social medias, support the players on their own personal streams, on their own personal social medias. Like, it does so much for like team morale, knowing that there's people behind them, right? Making sure that, that is something that's there. And I mean, I'm sure we're going to see at least one or two miracle runs coming through, right? Like, in terms of teams, but also in terms of players through trials. Like, some country somewhere is going to have just a ranked grinder who's never even tried to scrim before come through and make it to the starting roster and maybe even pound, right? Like, things like that are what esports is all about for me, right? So like, if I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to continue World Cup for next year and then the year after that. hopefully. But yeah, big fingers crossed. Big fingers crossed. Knock on wood there. But yeah, no, I think grind it. Try see if you can make it happen, because at worst, what you can do is make it so that the big names, don't get complacent. Proper didn't get to where he is now, thinking, oh, I've always got my spot on whatever team I join. I'm fine. No, he got there grinding. I mean, that's how he got there in the first place, right? Like, he grinded really hard because he saw Striker was, the number one Tracer player or whatever. He was the best Korean Tracer. Came out grinded him, outperformed him now, arguably, and yeah, I mean, stuff like that, right? Just look to grind, and do look to maybe try scrim a little bit if you can. There's a lot of really, really great resources in Europe and North America. I'm not as well familiar with the APAC scene. I think Mince can talk a bit more about that if they want to. But generally, just try to get involved with team play Overwatch, because even outside of all of the it's good to help your country improve, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's so much more fun than just playing ranked all day.
It's fun until Weevil's coaching you.
If you have any,
go ahead, Mince, quickly.
If you have any questions about what Weevil's just talked about, then DM him, DM me, DM Eric, DM anyone on this panel. We'll be able to point you in the right direction for these things. If you want to get involved,
Discord,
do it.
Smile.
Yes, do that. Do it now. Why are you not in it? Join it. Goddamn. But yeah, we're all here. DM's open. Come say hi.
That seems to me like a really nice way to round off this interview. Again, thank you all for coming and talking to us. It's been super interesting. For those of you watching, thank you for sticking with us. Please go and follow Mince, Eric, and Weevil on their socials. Check the show notes below for their links, as well as links to the relevant teams and the Discords and what have you. Plenty of information out there. Thank you to Ocean for coming. Ocean, that side. One of these days I will get the side of the screen right. Thank you for interrupting your dinner or forcing your dinner down quickly to come and be with us on the podcast today. It's much appreciated. We're well aware of the sacrifices you make. Thank you to Glitch for letting us use her remix of the King's Row theme to round out the show. And join us next time for even more from the world of Overwatch Tier 2 competitive and beyond. I've been Big Hungry Phil, and we'll see you next time.